Hi, I'm Alyssa, and this is part 3 of my Procolored DTF Printer series. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about all of the questions that you guys have asked me in the last 2 videos and try and give you some answers. A lot of these questions have to do with how the printer is running and some troubleshooting, and so I'm going to do the best I can to answer as many questions in a reasonable amount of time. It seems like I'm almost making one of these videos every 6 months, so it kind of gives you a nice timeline of how things have worked and not worked for me. So let's get into it. Because these videos are Q&A, I'm going to be pulling questions from the most recent video, which is episode 2. The first question is from Cassandra, and she says, is it still running after a year? Now, I do have a running Procolored DTF printer that I use on a very regular basis. No, it is not the same printer from the very first video. I don't remember if this video was, or this printer was in the last video or not, but it is a newer one. It's not the same from episode 1. This is because I used an off-brand ink and it coagulated and clogged my lines. When I went to clean it, I burnt out the motherboard. These are my user errors. I have talked to Procolored. I have a discount code with them, so I have worked with them like on a more business level. But first and foremost, I am a consumer of theirs, and these were things that we've discussed, and I know that is my fault. It's not part of their problem. I do find that the roller version I like more. My newer version is the roller version. It's not the sheet version. There was a little bit of a learning curve because you can't use their design space all the way up to the top. There's like some parameters you have to follow, and I messed up a few shirts, I remember, before I got the hang of it. Now, I would not recommend using any other brand of ink. I know their ink is more expensive, especially when you're looking on Amazon and at all these other companies, but it is the most trustworthy, and I'm pretty sure if you have an issue that is caused by their ink, they're more willing to replace parts and also help you through the problem. I did notice that their white ink, all white ink, needs to be agitated. You need to shake it, you need to stir it, otherwise it separates. So that is my biggest Procolored tip, is don't get your lines clogged, your print head clogged. It's an expensive mistake. I had to spend over $600 to replace my print head before, and that's not fun, especially if you're a small business. So I definitely remember reminding myself to talk about this in the video. Make sure that you're shaking your inks, stirring your inks, and preventing that separation and buildup and coagulation, especially of the white ink. That's a big answer for is it still running after a year. The next one is from user JXJeff blah, 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 and they want to know if I vent my oven. I work in a garage, my garage. I do not vent my oven. I've never had an issue. It is just like a mini oven. It doesn't need to be, I don't think, vented out a window. It's not like a laser engraver where it has like fumes in that capacity. Yes, when you cure the ink and the adhesive powder, there are fumes, but I don't think it's necessary to vent it. It's a personal preference. She also asked if she needs a dehumidifier. Because I work in my garage, I do have a dehumidifier, but again, it doesn't say it's required anywhere. I just like to take the moisture out of the air, because if you change moistures after you have transfers made, you can see how sometimes the transfers can burn, which obviously sucks because you just made the transfers and now they have all this moisture trapped, and when you go to press, there could be burn marks. Also, sometimes it creates like an oil or like a residue because the moisture is changing in the room that you're using. So if you want to avoid that risk, then yes, use a dehumidifier. I got one for like 70 bucks off of Amazon. It wasn't that expensive, and to me, it's an investment and it's worth it. Next, when using a different ink brand, do I completely need to clean out the ink that I have, or can I just add to the brand new ink containers? This brings me back to number one. I don't recommend using another brand of ink, but I don't even know how to answer this. When I did use other brands of ink, I did end up mixing them because I just was refilling the tank as it was emptying, but eventually I was stuck with a clogged print head, and that is the biggest problem with these printers, is the print head can clog and you cannot unclog it. Pretty much. Very rarely. I think I've had a clog that I've unclogged by running the print head cleaning so many times, but it must have not been that bad. But again, I have loyally been using the Procolored ink regardless of price. Just reflect on in your product price when you sell things. It's just better to use the highest quality materials, and also, like I said, if you need help in the long run, they're more helpful that you have been using their materials. Three Little Dinos Co. asked, would it be a good idea to purchase this DTF printer just to sell DTF prints? I think I've answered this before, but the answer, my personal opinion, is no. It does not work fast enough, and I just don't think that this small of a printer is efficient for a DTF print company. If you're making your own apparel and you're doing made to order, or you're working at like lower volumes, I think that this is the right printer for you. More of a small business or a hobby or a crafter machine, not a DTF print company machine. You would want to get something much more large and efficient to sell prints. I know those big commercial machines also have a lot more consistency and less troubleshooting than these smaller ones. So no, unfortunately, I don't recommend this for a DTF print only company. A user asked, how do you print more than one at a time with the RIP software? I'm not really sure what they mean here. If you have the sheet version, you only have a certain amount of space to print, so you just have that space. Sometimes you have to do one at a time. With the roller version, you're able to just copy and paste the image as many times as fits. There's still a limit with the roller version as well, but it gives you more leeway if like you want to do two of a design and it's longer than the sheet version. I prefer the roller version because that roller version would just piss me off when I had to waste a whole sheet and I could only get like 1.5 of a design or something. So unless you mean you want to queue more than one at a time, you can just send it to RIP and you can do, you know, a couple at a time. That's what I do. I never do a lot in case there's an issue and I have to cancel the task. I only like to put maybe 2 or 3 in the queue. Serena Weatherman asks, hey, I keep having a smeared line through the first top inch of my printed designs and I don't know what to do. I'm waiting for someone to get back to me. I hope someone got back to you because this was a long time ago, but the smeared line through the first top inch is usually because your design is too high on the artboard. You need to drop it down a bit because the rollers need to get going before the print starts. So try and drop your images, your artwork down on that artboard and then hit go. It won't waste extra paper, you know, just bring it down, especially if you see a red dotted line. That's your threshold mark and you want to be below that. A user asked, why am I against vinyl? I'm not against vinyl. I just think that this is more efficient for what I do. Vinyl is awesome for textured designs, especially like puff or foil or glitter. I do know now that DTF film comes in glitter, but sometimes vinyl is better in certain situations. I just prefer a full color image usually, so this is the right route for me. And if you're into vinyl, that's great. As long as it's done right, I think vinyl can last for a long time. I just prefer DTF. Carmen asked, how fast do you have to be putting the powder on once the printing is complete? Now, once I ran out of powder and I needed to keep printing because I had a large, like 300 shirt order, and I left them out overnight, powdered and melted the next day, and it was fine. So I don't think it needs to be powdered right away. I think the sooner the better, but if it needs to wait, I think it's okay. I've never had an issue. I didn't have an issue with adhesion or like wearability afterwards. Do you have your setup in your garage or room in your house? If in the garage you have any issues with change in temperature throughout the year, I try and stabilize the temperature in the garage with a heater, with a dehumidifier, or propping the door open to my home so that airflow gets in there. I haven't had too many issues. Something I did have happen was when the humidity changed, I had like a oily substance come onto my transfer sheets. It was easily wiped off, but I did want to avoid it. That was before I got the dehumidifier. The print head cleaning says have paper and feeder, which I do not. It will print on the film. I do a print head cleaning and then I print that alignment page on film. You can use scraps. I think you could actually use paper, but I don't recommend it. But it will print on film. You should do the alignment after every single print head cleaning. Are you limited to cartoon-like designs, or can you print a picture of a celebrity or something realistic? You can print anything on the Procolored DTF printer. I have printed a picture of a dog. I've printed a picture of a face, and I also have done just text and cartoon images. It's not limited to anything. It's like a regular printer that you use in your day-to-day life. How do you save prints? This is something I'd have to show you on the computer, but there's a little save icon. That's the square that looks like save on your computer, and then you just save the image as whatever title that you want. And when you want to reopen that same image again, there's another icon that shows you like import files, and it's the same image that you had before and the same size. So with reoccurring designs, I save them all so that I don't have to resize them every time I need to use them. I created my design in Canva, but the image is too small. I went to transfer to RIP. Help me, please. Okay, if your image is too small, most of the time you can enlarge it in the RIP software, but if it's too small and it comes out grainy, you may have to revisit Canva and enlarge your image. If you're saving as PNG with transparent background, which you should be doing, you should be able to size up. I always save it at the max size, even if the file is larger, because I get the best result and best detail that way. Does it hook up wireless? Unfortunately, one of the drawbacks I think to this machine is that nothing is wireless. So if you do go out of town or you need to leave, someone really should be running your printer. I've left it for 2 or 3 days before, and I do notice some coagulation of the ink, so I don't even recommend going that long. But if you have to, that's okay. I would just have someone, you know, come and agitate the ink and run the print head cleaning and the alignment page. I think that they have a type of solution that you can put somewhere if you're going to be gone for longer than that. I have not used that solution, but I know it exists. Hi, would I need another printer to print for glass cups or just change out the paper? This is only for heat press items, like materials such as clothing, blankets, towels, probably even hats. I just haven't done that, but it needs to be a fabric. This is for heat press items. That's how the image is set into the material. If you wanted to do something like cups, you might need a UV printer or a UV DTF printer, which makes those transfers that you see for cups and keychains and such. What is the biggest sheet you can print with this printer? I believe the one that I have, the roller version, is like 12 inches wide by 20 inches long. I'm guessing, don't quote me on that, but the roller version is longer than the other. The sheet version, I believe, was 11.5 by 14 inches. Can you use a heat press to melt the powder, or do you need the oven thing? You need the oven. The oven gets hot enough for a long enough time to melt the adhesive. It cures it kind of, and then you're able to adhere it to material. I just don't think it would be efficient to trust the inconsistency of a heat press hovering over it. You would never want it to touch. That would ruin the transfer. So you need the oven. I think you can get other types of ovens, but it won't always be the correct size. So I recommend if you're going to get the Procolored printer, you might as well get the bundle with the oven. Is it compatible with MacBook Air? At the time of this video, no, it is not. One user asked where I got the duster from. That's from a small business called Legit Prints. He made that design. He makes them in-house. It's super awesome, and I think it's very beneficial. Keeps all that powder in one place. The next question is, what RIP software do I use? I just use the RIP software that the printer came with. I also use the RIP software that came with my UV printer and my UV DTF printer. Whatever RIP software you get with the machine is what you need to use. Definitely have them set it up for you. I let them remote in and set it up on my computer. It made it a lot easier and work more efficiently, and it was easier to understand. I tried doing it myself, and I'm not super techy, so it was a little bit challenging for me. So once I used TeamViewer and let them remote in, it made it super seamless. That's all I have time for today. If you have any other questions regarding the Procolored DTF printer, Procolored UV printer, or Procolored UV DTF printer, I know I didn't touch on those, but I definitely can make another video regarding that. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below, and we'll do another installment at a later date. Bye!